What is good people?
Welcome. I'm Liz.
I'm Danny, and this is Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. Liz, another episode back in the cockpit. So, a lot is going on since we last recorded. So, what were some of the more notable things that's happened in the wonderful world of Liz?
In November, man, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. It's the beigest, but I love it. I like that there's no presents involved and you just hang out with family. It's a little more streamlined than some of these other holidays that just get out of control.
Yeah, it's true.
And the day after Thanksgiving, we went up to Charlotte to see the Knicks take on the Charlotte Hornets.
Nice.
And that was a quick trip, but it was super cool because Karl Anthony Towns' cat.
Mm-hmm.
That's my son, one of my son's favorite players. And he was super kind and went over and talked to my kids, and they got to meet him. He was spectacular, and they won by 1 point.
Wow, that's awesome. So I know your son had to be over the moon being able to see Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and he signed their stuff. So yeah, and you know, you're that big, you're big time. You don't have to do stuff like that, but it sure does leave a mark. I mean, we'll be talking about that for years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What any other things going on of note?
I turned 45.
Yeah. Celebrate it because you made it.
Yeah. I feel physically strong in my 45th year so far. Emotionally precarious, but physically, I feel like I could lift a truck. So yeah, so far so good.
You know what? We should test that out next episode.
Feats of strength.
Yes.
And airings of grievances.
Oh man. So yeah, I also enjoyed my Thanksgiving. It was a lot of fun. It was a pretty low key Thanksgiving. It was just went over to my parents' house. So it was just the three of us, and I was on Brussels sprout duty as I normally am every year. And the way I just kept it simple this time. I would just cut the Brussels sprouts in half, drizzle them in olive oil, just some cracked sea salt, some cracked black pepper. You know, just kept it simple. Put it in the oven for about 30 minutes, and boom. Next thing you know, I brought them over to my parents' house, and while we're waiting for the turkey to finish cooking, we're in the kitchen just popping them Brussels sprouts like it's candy. And I never thought I would get to this portion of the program because I hated Brussels sprouts as a kid, but I can't get enough of them now as an adult. But man, Thanksgiving dinner was awesome. Dad was on yams duty. Mom, she brined it like it was like a first ballot Hall of Fame type brine. I mean, that was the juiciest, most tender turkey I've ever had in my life. And that was, shout out to you, Mom. You really did the thing with the turkey. And Dad, he handled the yams like he always does, and had dressing, and and Mom made the giblet gravy, which I always look forward to every year. It was an awesome experience, and just getting to talk. I don't know how the conversation landed on music, but we got into a very spirited conversation about Jimi Hendrix, and we shared information that we all weren't really privy to. Like I told them about Hendrix being a paratrooper in the Army before he embarked on his musical journey, and how he played with the Isley Brothers. And it's like, wow. And I like Dad. I was surprised that Dad didn't know that he played with the Isley Brothers. And then we just talked about how he was in the hallucinogenics, and then how that went over to Bootsy Collins, and how he played for James Brown, and he quit the band once he was tripping on. He was on some kind of hallucinogenic, and he said his guitar turned into a snake, and he freaked out and ran off stage.
And he played with James Brown?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he started with James Brown. But yeah, it was a very spirited conversation. It's always a good time chopping it up with the family. So first thing on the agenda, we're going to get into the teacher spotlight. And I'll go first. My teacher spotlight is my music teacher at Whitesville Elementary, who goes by the name of Mr. Capps, his Philip Capps. And I enjoyed going to music class every Wednesday because as soon as we walk in, and we'd all sit in our desks, and he would address the class, "Good morning, class," and we all go, "Good morning, Mr. Katz." I always look forward to doing that. I was like, all right, that means the day's going to go good. And he was such a wizard with the guitar, and he taught us about like musical phrasing and like G clefs and treble clefs and like sharps and flats and stuff like that.
Can you play?
Not at all. Not at all. My dad can,
I know.
but not me. And one of the things that I loved, he always had this little frog puppet named Burford. I mean, it truly was a knockoff Kermit, but I didn't care. And he would tuck himself behind his teacher's desk, and he would just start doing his puppetry. And I was just so enamored with it. I was like, man, look, that's Burford. And you remember Stacy and Stephanie McDougal?
The name sounds twins.
Yeah. And they were in my class, and every time he took attendance, he would always call them Stacy and Stephanie McDougalburger, and the whole class would just laugh. And it was such a fun time in his class, and just him playing the songs and singing along. And it was a song. The song was called Perrito, and it was like Perrito the Mosquito, and at the end, is so and so is eating mosquito burger, and everybody just goes, ew! It just freaked all of us out. It was hilarious. And I remember Clinton Simmons was in class, and he had the Mr. Capps had the dual tape deck in his class, and sometimes he would throw in a country song, and Clinton would get up and he would just shake his hip and he would go for broke whenever Mr. Capps would throw in the country music. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he still is or not, but the last time I saw him, he was a principal at it was some elementary school in the Goose Creek. But that was, gosh, that had to have been probably 20 years ago the last time I saw him. But Mr. Capps, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for all you did, and thank you for expanding my brain with all the musical jargon. So, Liz, who's your teacher?
I am going to go with Miss Lydia Baker. I don't know if you knew her. She was in middle school at Berkeley, and I had her for 3 years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and she taught us about the trials of Nuremberg, which really stuck with me.
That's heavy.
It was heavy stuff. And also, that's where I got to play the most Oregon Trail.
Yes.
And we also did a whole chapter, or a whole, I guess, semester almost on Nefertiti. And every time we said it, it was funny. Every time. I mean, I guess we were doing Egypt and all that. And then we made up a rap about rolling down the street, smoking potatoes, sipping on whatever Egyptian people drink. It really.
Oh man.
Yeah, those are just some highlights, and she was just always so joyful and kind, and you could tell she seemed to really like being there and enjoyed our company, because we really enjoyed her company. And I had a good class, and she gave us a lot of, and she encouraged independence and let us do a lot of studying and exploring on our own. Appreciated that. Love
it. So who were some of your partners in crime in that class? Do you remember?
Micah, Stephen, Furtick, Newsome, Elizabeth Newsome, Jenny Watson, Jamela Shaw.
Wow. That's an all-star cast.
Emily Cool.
Oh, man. Tricky Dick.
Yeah, we had a big time. We had to like do a lot of acting out of stuff. So you really wanted Emily in your camp for that. She was really good.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. I never, I knew of her, but wasn't in any of her classes. But man, it sounds like I missed out on a good time.
Well, I think she's retired now, but maybe I know she's still around town. If you can get in touch, ask her to recommend some readings, and then maybe y'all can discuss.
Yeah, maybe we can have her on the show. Who knows?
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into our next subject, keeping it local. There was still is a department store that really was the anchor in terms of fine fashion in the town of Moncks Corner, South Carolina, and that is Barron's Department Store. Oh my gosh, the amount of suits that I bought from Barron's and that my papa bought from Barron's. He always kept a fresh pair of Stacey Adams and his double-breasted pinstripe suits, and I thought that was always the coolest thing. I hardly ever saw Papa in just like a t-shirt and the t-shirt and jeans. He was always buttoned up, and I remember always riding with him to Barron's, and Mr. Manuel would always tailor his suits. And what do you have any memories from Barron's?
Oh, golly, yes.
Let's hear them.
Mr. Manuel Cohen gave my dad his first job ever.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so my Aunt Mert lived on Main Street, and so we could walk down there and shop at Barron's. And I remember when you would go in to try on your Easter dress or whatever with the collar. Oh my gosh, your collar, it was a complete rectangle. And I hated wearing dresses. And Mr. Cohen knew that, and he would, try to like give me the not so dressy dresses. And I would try it on instead of opening the dressing room. I like to get down and tuck and roll out the bottom of the dressing. I mean, that's the other reason Mr. Cohen gave me the not as pretty dresses, because he knew I was going to be wallering around on the floor. And
so was that like a defense mechanism?
Well, it's just like, can we please get this over with?
Got you.
That was not my favorite task. And then I could remember my grandma shopping, and she would get her nightgowns and robes and all from in there, and they'd be on those round racks, and I would get down in the middle of those silk racks. I mean, I was like 3. I remember this, and like all that silk on your face felt so good. And I think they probably still have the same green carpet.
They do. I went in there, probably about 5 months ago. Really? It quite literally has not changed. I mean, even the advertisements in the window display are still, they've faded all to hell, but they're still in the same place.
I love the consistency. And if you need a steel-toed boot, go check it out. A thick, warm wool sock. What else? They got some other. They specialize in nice hats. Like if you want a fancy hat. Yes. Sunday hat. What else?
Yeah, Mama used to always get her Sunday hats from Barron's too. But man, I remember. Actually, I posted a Throwback Thursday picture on my IG of my outfit from my 8th grade prom, and I got that from Barron's. It was like a charcoal double-breasted suit. I can't remember the color of the slacks. So I want to say they might have been maroon, and then I had the paisley maroon and blue tie to go with it. Man, you couldn't tell me nothing. Mm-hmm. And I remember Dad actually drove me to the 8th grade prom, and he pulled up in his Corvette. And he had just gotten it painted. It was like a fade job. It was blue on the top and green, blue on the top and gray on the bottom. And man, when they pulled up and I hopped out, and everybody just like the googly eyes and pointing, I'm like, you see me, I'm clean. But man, yeah.
Well, I got my 8th grade prom dress there, and another thing you can do at Barron's is get your shoes dyed to match your dress.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now, they're like a silky thing, and they dye them. But then if you sweat or there's rain, I'm not guaranteeing that they will be the same color. I mean, I'm sure they've made so many advancements in the technology of that since 1989. But at the time, you ran a risk of having a little bit of color running going on.
Man, I didn't know you could dye shoes. That's cool. It's like Easter eggs. That's awesome.
Cool. Okay, we'll go with cool. That sounds cool.
Man, so Barron's, you were an institution. You're still an institution. So now, moving on to the next topic, old Lowcountry movie theaters. I remember our go-to movie theater was the Aviation Cinemas right there on Aviation Avenue. And man, just about every Saturday, we would go there to catch a movie. And man, so many good times there. And I remember we went to go see. I think the last movie I went to go see there was The Bear. And Mom was just so pressed to see that movie. And I honestly, I wasn't too enthused about it. I'm like, it's just a movie about a bear. So what? But Mom paid for the ticket. I was like, you know what? All right, we'll go.
This was like Cocaine Bear. It's just regular bear.
Yeah, regular bear. You know,
Okay.
that's the tentative show title. Regular Bear. Went there. The Fox Theater. Do you remember the Fox Theater?
Where was that?
It was on Rivers in Gaslight Square.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that was the name of it. But.
Yeah, it was right on the far left end of the shopping mall, or of the strip mall, I should say. And I remember it was a 4-screen theater. And me and my cousin Roosevelt, he was more like an uncle to me, but sometimes we would hang out and we would go there quite often because they showed Home Alone and Waterworld there for literally 3 years. You talk about models of consistency. And I mean, the floors were just full of popcorn and just like slippery from the butter. And I didn't care. I got to hang out with my cousin Roosevelt, and we got to watch Home Alone for like the 28th time.
Was that $1 movie place? Or $2? It was like $2, right?
Yeah, it wasn't very expensive. I don't think it was $1, but
let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's kind of fallen out of fashion, but for a while, it was very popular to go to a movie theater and eat in the movie theater. You know, like they would bring you the Terrace had that.
Yeah.
And then there was that place over in Mount Pleasant that was doing it.
Cinnabar,
yeah. So, and my husband despises this concept because, one, he wants to be able to see what he's eating.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you want it to be two things to look forward to, the movie and the dinner. You don't want to just clump it all together. And what are your feelings on this? Do you feel like that was just a passing fad?
I wish there was a fad that stayed, because I love going to Cinnabar.
Okay.
I love Cinnabar. Just being able to place your order and then you can watch the movie and then they bring your food to you. It almost felt like I was at home.
It didn't bother you that there were wait staff moving in front of you in the movie theater experience and people chewing?
No, I was never bothered by that.
Oh, that's good.
So what were some of your old movie theater memories?
Well, I remember the drive-in movie theater in Moncks Corner, not as a movie theater, but as a spooky. They would set it up as Halloween scare thing. That was really scary.
The Swamp Fox drive-through or drive-in.
And then the Dollar Theater, the big one over by Toys R Us on Rivers Avenue. And we would go there twice a weekend.
Yeah, me too.
And Hamilton Martin would drive up in his red Tempo, and he'd have a styrofoam cup in between us, and we would start counting out quarters to see how many movies we could go see.
Yes.
In the day. And
God, I missed the Dollar Theater.
Mm-hmm. And the only movie I ever walked out of was from that Dollar Theater because it was only $1, and
what was it?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
a vampire movie.
With Antonio Banderas?
It had, I think Brad Pitt was in it, and maybe, I don't know, because I didn't stay for the whole thing.
And
it was
Salma
terrible.
Hayek was in it.
It was terrible.
It was bad.
And then there were other theaters, like, the Northwoods one, you would pay and go and sit, and it was like a 70-30 chance that the reel would stop or, like, start skipping. And then you'd have to go find somebody and ask them to put the reel back on. And the first movie I ever went to was there, and it was Fantasia, and I went with my grandma.
Wow.
And I was like 4. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah, Superman was the first movie I went to the theater to see, and I was also 4. And I think I said this on the previous podcast, but he left such a lasting impression on me that when we went home, I climbed on top of the bar stool and jumped off thinking that I could fly.
Oh,
Yeah, and gravity thought otherwise. I was like, yeah.
Stitches?
Yeah. That's exactly what I ended up getting. So what were your go-to movies at the Dollar Theater?
Just whatever. I mean, and literally whatever they were playing, we would go for that. But that was during the era of like the American Pie stuff coming out, and just kind of gaudy. We were not high class connoisseurs of French films or anything. We were just there for whatever they would put on.
Yeah, you go to the terrace for that. But I used to always, my go-to at the Dollar Theater was Zoolander.
Oh, that's a great.
Classic. God, I love that movie.
I take that back. That is a classic film. It should be studied.
And I remember one Saturday night I went there, and I paid for my ticket, and the lady that took my ticket, she was like, "Would you like to donate $1 to I think it was the Muscular Dystrophy Association?" I was like, "Sure." She said she slid me the star cutout to write my name. She's like, "All right, just put your John Hancock there." So I just wrote John Hancock and I gave it back to her, and she just busted out laughing.
Oh man! Well,
So
go ahead.
I was going to say also there was a movie theater at was there a movie theater at Charleston Square Mall before the Regal 18?
Oh, I don't know. If so, that was not one that we frequented.
Yeah, it wasn't for us either.
James Allen had one, but that was kind of far.
Yeah.
Citadel Mall. And yeah, you're probably either going to be at North, and if you made it to Northwoods, you were doing pretty well. And
That's true.
Are you surprised Moncks Corner never got a movie theater?
Not really.
Okay.
I do remember we went to we did go to the Swamp Fox drive-in to see a movie. I can't remember what movie it was because I might have been, I might have been 2 or 3 years old, so it wasn't any way for me to remember. But yeah, those were just some. Oh, Pine Haven Cinemas. It was way down rivers over in the over in the Naval Shipyard area. When that's back when Shipwatch Square used to be around. I think it's a church now. But I remember me and a couple of my homies from church, we snuck in there to watch Boys in the Hood. We had no business being in there. I was 11 years old.
Oh, man.
No business. But man, those were the days, man.
Yeah, and you could, pay your money and then go to a different theater because nobody was really checking.
Yeah.
But I was terrified that we would have gotten busted.
Yeah, me too. I didn't have the courage to do it. So moving on to the next topic. I don't think we covered a local celebrity in the previous episode, but this episode I wanted to give a big highlight to one of my favorite local celebrities. You could always catch him at the River Dogs games. Tony the Peanut Man. Man, every time I go to the River Dogs game and I would be sitting in section 206, and then off in the distance, you just hear the, hey, 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 what I say? Got some bowl, got some roasted, got some stew, got some toasted. Peanut Man. I was like, let's go. I'm about to get my Cajun boiled peanuts. Man, so Tony the Peanut Man, he was quite the character. So what are your thoughts of Tony the Peanut Man?
Well, he always had a hat that had the top busted out.
Yep. And
like a straw hat deal. And he was the best promoter on the tightest budget I've ever seen. I mean, he could, everybody knew, you still know his song.
Yeah.
He made that up from scratch and just boiling peanuts. And I think he did all right.
Yeah.
And, there was another, Timbo's Peanuts was on, out in West Ashley, like in that orange trailer thing. And it was like Timbo and Tony. It was like, whose camp were you in? But you're going to be in Tony's camp.
Yeah.
He would travel around and do all the events. And then he had like a whole army of people.
Yeah, he did.
And they would wear a shirt with his face on it.
Yep.
And I think he did a pretty good job screening them because they would be enthusiastic about selling those peanuts.
That's true. That's true. I think it was to the point where I would look forward to go to the River Dogs games, and I would be more excited about getting the peanuts than I would getting the watching the baseball game. But man, yeah, he was an institution in Charleston, and sadly he succumbed to a long battle with cancer. But man, it's just River Dogs games just aren't the same without hearing him bellowing out that song. Golly, man.
Have you tried any boiled peanuts in the can?
I haven't.
Okay. I hear they're, and I've tried a few. They're not Tony's. Let's just put that out there right off the rip. And I make them sometimes in the crock pot. Again, not the same. I don't know. I mean, how did he do it?
I don't know. He's got that peanut mojo that's just unmatched.
Delicious.
Man, so salute to you, Tony the Peanut Man. You are missed. You are missed. So now we get to the portion of the program where we talk about what we learned. So what did you learn on this episode?
That you jumped off a stool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. That was not a fun time.
What did you take away?
My biggest takeaway was I missed out on being in Miss Baker's class.
Oh.
I mean, getting to rap about Egypt, and get the giggle at Nefertiti. I mean, yeah, I clearly missed out. So you have any final thoughts?
Just we're in the thick of the holidays. Man, it is.
Yeah.
Holiday time, and it can be so joyful and wonderful, and you want to make it special for the kids, but also it can be a really tough time
That's
for mental
true
health.
too. Yeah.
So everybody check in with your people, check in with yourself. What you got?
You said it. I could not have said it better. Check in with your people.
We've been doing this a while.
And check in with yourself. So Liz, this has been another great episode, and this is always fun. Mm-hmm. It's always fun, just to pick up where we left off and catch up on lost time. Man, and to do it in the podcast form. We did it. We did it. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you like, download, or subscribe to Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find all the videos for all the episodes of this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, my Candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and my other podcast, Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And again, thank you for listening. And for Liz and myself, this has been another episode of Growing Up Low Country. And until next time, y'all be good. Talk to y'all later.